Good afternoon. You have arrived at the dispatch with Senior Airman Cameron Newarner, otherwise known as the Dandy Man. Today, we have with us a special guest. We have with us Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Europe District.
Hey, Cam. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no worries. I think we're going to have a fantastic show today. We're going to get a lot of information out to everyone. And so while we have quite a bit of information coming your way, we're going to be delving into Engineers Week 2025, all right here on AFN the Eagle, serving America's best. That was Timeless by The Weeknd. And we are here having a timeless conversation with Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Europe District. We are talking about Engineers Week. So, Colonel, what exactly is Engineers Week?
Hey, thanks. Engineer Week was founded by the National Society of Professional Engineers in the 50s, and it was dedicated to ensuring a wide range and well-educated future engineering workforce. They work to increase understanding of and interest in engineering and technology careers. And then today, pulling that forward to today, what the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does is they'll celebrate Engineers Week every year and use it as an opportunity to remind people how engineers contribute to society and encourage the next generation of engineers and other STEM professionals.
So there's a lot of history that goes into it. And speaking on contributions that are happening, today, how does the whole engineering scene impact our day-to-day lives for those who may not be aware of its significance?
No, that's a great question, right? Because as you look around any community, the impact of what engineers do is literally everywhere. Some things are fairly obvious if you think of bridges or roads, buildings, parks, dams, machinery, cars, right? All those things an engineer was important to build. And then there's other things that are maybe less obvious, right? Where water drains to and things like that.
You can't take a left turn without running into something engineer related, honestly.
Exactly.
That we've talked about the history of it. We talked about how it's significant now, but now let's turn our eyes to the future. Why is it important to encourage the next generation of engineers? Why should we push people who have that inclination and that interest in that direction?
That's another great question, right? So as technology evolves, needs evolve, and we look to, say, the next generation of infrastructure or power generation or transportation, we're going to require engineers to do that tomorrow, right, in the future. And so we have to start developing those people today. Yeah. But they have to have talent, passion, resilience, a shared sense of purpose, and most of all, what engineers bring is expertise. And that can't be developed overnight. So we have to start now with programs, like STEM in high schools, universities, clubs and internships, and all of that will hopefully ignite the fire for young people to make a difference beyond, what they might otherwise think they're capable of.
Absolutely. It's all about preparation for the future. And speaking about preparation for the future, coming up in the near future, we're going to be continuing our conversation. We're going to be talking about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Europe, finding out more about what they do, what they are, what they represent. All coming up next right here on AFN the Eagle, serving America's best. I Melt With You by Modern English. And it's time to stop the world for just a moment as we are continuing our conversation with Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Europe District. And earlier, we were talking quite a bit about the Engineers Week 2025, talking about what it is, what it represents, how it impacts our day-to-day lives, and why it's important to encourage the next generation of engineers. So now, moving on from the week, we are talking about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Europe and all that they do. So, could you tell us what kinds of projects does the Corps of Engineers work on here in Europe?
Yeah, sure thing. So, my district, the Europe district, delivers engineering solutions to support U.S. national security interests in Europe, and in Africa. So we cover both continents. Our top priority is delivering facilities that ensure readiness and ultimately increase, operational capabilities of U.S. forces overseas. So as a couple of quick examples, at Ramstein Air Base, we recently broke ground on a new squad ops facility for the 37th Airlift Squadron. And then we do a wide range of projects in Poland, largely for the Army. One that we completed recently and is now operational is a pre-positioned stock site in Powice that is very key, to EUCOM's efforts to deter adversaries. And then another large project that we're working is here in Bavaria. I'm in Bavaria today visiting my team down here. And, they're working on a thing called the Operational Readiness Training Center, which is going to build premier training facilities and make sure we have a place to build combat readiness, and again, in a way to make sure we deter America's adversaries. And so then the other thing that is super important to note, though, is that we also do a lot of work for quality of life. So that's not only for the warfighter, but also for families that are overseas. That includes things like we've got a large DODIA schools program, building several new schools. We work to modernize existing housing, build new housing. Then we're also, building what is going to be the largest overseas MILCON project ever with the Rhine Ordnance Barracks Medical Center replacement, which will replace Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. That facility will not only provide warfighters and their families with modern world-class healthcare, but it'll do that for decades to come and ensure U.S. readiness for rapid trauma care should we need it in future contingencies.
Those are quite a lot of projects that are being worked on with some heavy significance in terms of what they do and what they're for. So when it comes to these projects, I know that you mentioned a number of things involving the medical care, along with tons of other things that these projects are doing. Can you elaborate a little bit on how these projects impact service members and the communities that they're in?
Sure, absolutely. So when I think of things with service members and their communities, one of the things that comes to mind right away is schools. Certainly service members with school-aged children want to have great schools for their children, and in many ways that starts with the facility. And so where we have aging schools, DODIA is programmed over time to replace aging schools with what they call 21st century schools. These schools have an open floor design and have been shown over time to produce exceptional results. And so that's, I think, one great example. And then housing, community and youth, child and youth services, CDCs, the number of projects that we do that directly impact soldiers, their families, and communities overall is kind of hard to overstate.
Absolutely. With all of the things that you guys do for the community, for the various aspects of the military, you keep things working, you keep things going, you maintain like so many different aspects of what goes on everywhere. When we'll be continuing this conversation when we after a couple songs, after your local news in one, we're going to be having a conversation about the opportunity for you to potentially join in. We're going to be talking about jobs and recruiting coming up next after the news in one. All right, here on AFN the Eagle. You're Beautiful by James Blunt. And you are beautiful for listening to AFN. We are currently chatting with a significant individual here, one Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Europe District. Pretty big job, I think. And speaking of jobs, we've been talking all about Engineer Week with its significance and what does the Engineering Corps do for everyone. But in terms of getting work, getting a job, becoming a part of that team, what kinds of jobs are there in engineering here in Europe with USACE, Colonel?
Hey, thanks for that. It's always exciting to be able to talk about the kind of jobs we have and ideally pique some interest and be able to bring folks on board. So, our mission is incredibly varied. And so we hire all kinds of engineers. civil engineers, yeah, that make buildings sturdy and build roads and other things, mechanical and electrical engineers, that make all of our systems work. Heating and air conditioning is one example. Environmental engineers that keep projects and military communities safe. Fire protection engineers that ensure buildings meet code and reduce risks to occupants.
Wow.
And so many more. I could keep going. And then we also hire folks that aren't necessarily engineers, but that we need on the team. So things like biologists, attorneys, accountants, anything that it takes to make a large organization run smoothly, like we have those sorts of opportunities at the Europe District.
And all the pieces in the proper places, doing the optimized thing for the job, all in relation to getting the engineering done and the engineering projects to run smoothly. So when it comes to these jobs, are the engineers that we're talking about here, are they with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Europe? Are they all soldiers or civilians or what?
That's a good question there. So it's about 600 people total, and it's a mix, but the mix is heavily skewed. So there's only about 12 soldiers in the Europe District. So that leaves the preponderance of that 600 as civilians. About 80% of them are Department of the Army civilians, and then about 20% of them are local national employees, all of whom are filling a critical role to deliver projects, all around the two continents.
All right. And for those who are interested, who are not yet hired, but who are interested in the engineering opportunities as a civilian or in uniform, where can they learn more about these opportunities?
Yeah, I think the first place to look is just to hit us up online. Look for Europe District on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram. There's a lot of information there. And then for those who are seeking employment imminently, we're always posting new positions on USA Jobs every day. And that's in our offices, places like Germany, Italy, Poland, Romania, Belgium. As I run through that list, we have offices in 14 countries, and we do work in 40, a little more than 40. And so there's a myriad of opportunities, both in places and in the different types of work that you could do for the Europe District. And we are always looking for new talent and new folks to join our awesome team.
Been Like This by Megan Trainer, and we've been having a conversation with special guest Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Europe District, otherwise known by some as USACE. So we have been talking all about Engineering Week. We've been talking about the Corps of Engineers, all the work that they do, the various projects that are out there. We've even been talking about career opportunities, some jobs, some recruiting, and all the awesome stuff that you can get involved with yourself. But now we're going to be talking a little bit about STEM. So, Colonel, how does the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers promote STEM here in Europe?
So, STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and math, is super central to the kind of work we do. Like, we cannot do our job at the district without engineers. And so we work very closely with DoDEA partners all over Europe to engage students and help them understand how important engineers are. As an example, for Engineers Week this year, we've already had engineers in classrooms in Wiesbaden and Bavaria, and then we've got awesome activities still to come in Italy and Kaiserslautern. So pretty excited about all of that. And then, we engage the next generation of engineers all year long, not just during this week. And so if you're listening today and you're like, hey, I'd really like to set something up, I would ask that you please reach out to our public affairs team. They're pretty easy to find on the interwebs, and they'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, so the next generation of engineers. So along with, suggesting that they reach out to the various office, could you reiterate real quick? Was there anything else along with that that you would like to say to any potential future engineers or students considering STEM careers? It's really just What was the contact for them again?
Yeah. So I think, it may be more for schools or organizations that would maybe want to reach out to our public affairs team. And again, like if you just look for public affairs office, Europe district on the internet, you'll be able to find them. They are very public facing. But when I think about the idea of if I were to message directly to potential future engineers or current students that are considering STEM careers, there's a few things that I think are super important. So one is to look at the range of possibilities. Like the things that are out there and available are pretty incredible. There are so many unique engineering careers that are incredibly rewarding and will really make a difference in the world. So look to find one of those or just at least consider them, right? Know what's out there. But if that's something that you want to do, then I would take deliberate steps, to prepare yourself. And it may be challenging. Some of the fields in engineering can be academically rigorous, but there is no shortage of brilliance out there in today's youth. And I think as long as they're willing to put in the work and combine that with their natural abilities, like they'll become excellent engineers. And then the last thing I would say is that, with that identified goal and then, the preparation that you've done, like from there, just doggedly pursue your dreams, whatever that is, whether it's developing hypersonic travel, taking a self-driving car to work that you've helped engineer and build yourself, or colonizing Mars. It doesn't matter. Whatever that dream is that you have, like if you've learned to do the engineering and support that, like chase it, do it, live your dream.
Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself. It definitely got me a little teary-eyed there. You chase your dreams. Absolutely. Especially with all the hard work that goes into that field. You will have earned it getting into it. We will be concluding our conversation coming up soon. All right, here on AFN the Eagle, serving America's best. We have been chatting with Colonel Dan Kent, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Europe District, and we've been talking all about engineering and its significance. We've mentioned Engineers Week. We've talked about the impact that the Engineer Corps plays. We've talked about job opportunities, and there's so much we've been covering today. So, Colonel, was there anything that you wanted any last words, anything extra that you wanted to make doubly sure that we were aware of before we wrap things up?
Yeah, Cam, it probably came through as we went, right? But I'm super passionate about the work we do and, incredibly proud of the men and women I get to serve with every day. For the listeners, I would encourage everyone to check out the Europe District on social media and see all the work that we do delivering engineering solutions in support of national security. And then, finally, I'd just like to say thank you to AFN for letting me come today and tell this story and talk about National Engineers Week. So thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to actually hop on and talk about all this. I could definitely hear the passion in all of what you were saying. Definitely the person for the job that you have from talking to you. So, yeah, we really do appreciate you hopping on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish you safe travels and much success in your future.
Hey, thanks, Cam. Wish you success too. Take care.
Take care.